thing that really maps into each other, and then try address that. So let's go. Yeah.
Okay. So T, you can take over.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jiri. And thank you, Regan, for that wonderful introduction you've given us. Yeah, I think you've covered quite a lot of the questions we wanted to ask about yourself. So we'll dive direct into the questions. So we had two sections. The first section was to do with how to avoid shipping crappy UX, and the other is to do with what UX recruiters look for in new hires. So we'll start with not shipping crappy UX. So Regan, in your opinion, what constitutes crappy UX?
Yep. Thank you. That's a good answer. And crappy UX is everything, is everywhere, is everything you look at. As a designer, we have had this problem of getting frustrated by everything we do, from physical product design, like even doors, how they are made, the handles, how we pull and push. Those are different metaphors that really translate into digital experience of things that we build into these experiences that we do, which are frustrating from the website level itself. So a crappy UX for me is just those conventions that make us frustrated, those conventions that makes us say, hey, what the fuck is this? That's, for me, it's crappy UX. And crappy UX exists. We live with it. Some of us even we're crappy UXers, and we propagate that experience into our work itself. So we just have to have like a reset button on that. And when I talk about this, I look at the heuristics, Nielsen heuristics of evaluation when you're evaluating a UX interface. And some of the basic things are just like information overload, mental models of how we're going to do affordances, basic things like page speed, load speed of the websites that you're building, looking at the copy of consistency that you're doing, the colors, if you're looking at different accessibility issues, like how are we adapting to people who are colorblind, people who don't read, how is assistive technology going to help on this, and also crappy UX constitutes of just negligence in the UI and just designing not delightful content or delightful interfaces to users. And one of the things that I'll do and I'll get in is a simple things like WhatsApp delete message feature. That's one of the form of over functionality that as designers we have been focused on building forms and forgetting about functionality of what this thing is. And we as designers need to come up as a way of articulating the function of a form. Like I'll rather ship 20% done product that does things right than a very good looking product that does zero thing. So that is just waste of time, waste of business time, and also just doesn't really make sense to you. So a good example is WhatsApp message. And this is just one of the crappy UX feature is we send someone a message and then you delete the message and then you tell someone that someone deleted a message. What's that? Just if I'm deleting a message, let me just delete a message because the intent was to delete without that person looking at it. But if you're alerting that person that I deleted the message, in fact, even gives that more suspicion of something funny that I was doing, so that's just one of the, crappy UX. And Gmail has done amazing stuff on that trend where it gives you a grace period of 30 seconds, and then you can recall back the message faster before someone else reads it. So that's a good practice of how to do. So let function of a feature match up with the user's expectations set by messaging itself. I'm getting the message. I don't want to know what you did from your end. Another aspect is the Apple storage management system. That's a good example of it. Like you're going to take a photo, and people who are on iPhone, and oh, I'm happy Daniel Kitui is here, so he knows this frustration. I've been with him for some time doing stuff. Thank you. So one of the things for Apple is, when you're going to take a photo and your storage is full, it just gives you this pop-up when you're in the moment of taking a photo. That's just one of the crappy UX from a big company that we expect. They have, apparently, Apple has around 4,000 UX designers on board, and this is what happens. So it's not something new for you to happen. So with all those designers, we still have this crappy UX. that happen. So you're not alone that we're trying to do. So what is the best way? The best way is just show me what space is required, and let me just delete those images that I want to do. Or another best action is just, AI is there. We know our storage capacity. We know how we take our photos. Tell me in the morning or afternoon that my storage is full, or even before clicking that take photo, and give me an alert and tell me like, hey, we can't take a photo because of this. Rather than when I click, that's when you do it. So we just have, don't make me think, that's just the basic stuff. Just don't make me think to do something, and give me something to recover. Like a good example is, if I'm done, what is there? What do I do next? You have no idea what done is for sure. Like, I click done, does it mean that I can continue taking a photo? No, Apple doesn't allow you to take a photo after that. You have to go into your settings, that tunneling part of it. So that's just one of the crappy UX that I think about. Another one is home, Safaricom. All of you know Safaricom very well. This is one of the crappy UX that I talk about. And I'm sorry, Safaricom has a UX department in the team, but I'm so happy that they have it, and they're trying to push that needle of UX industry in Kenya, and I'm super proud of them. But these are the things, as the industry, as the leaders in this design, we have to come up and call out for these. We call them mentor institutions that help us foster design best practices, such crappy UX. So I get into data. First thing is, I don't have a call to action above the fold, and all the data that I want is below the fold. I have no idea what to do on this page itself. So just the simple things like, okay, we understand you're beautiful, you have a good UI, but what is the call to action? What do I do on this page? What information do I learn to do this? And most people don't even scroll such pages. So this is just some of the crappy UX. As designers, we need to look at the above fold, like how do we do that? And how do we position yourself to do better? Another thing is just the super long drop downs. Like, you'll get into websites and we have these like 20 drop down, list that you want to do. That's just a cognitive load, and that's just another way of saying that that's crappy UX. Another aspect is the ratings and reviews. If you get into these companies that do ratings and reviews, and you give me like 1 to 5, star, what is that? I want to have like more specific rating that I want to know. A good example is, if I'm rating a hotel, I really don't want a hotel to just have 1 to 5. I want to be able to rate like, what is the hospitality? What is the food? What is the ambience? Well, is it child friendly? It's like all those granular level. As a user, you have to empathize with the user and look at how they really, if they want to get into a restaurant or a shop, what are they going to look at? And then give them the rating, but just don't give a rating because everyone else is doing the same. Okay. Another thing is the notifications and alert, having better copies. SharePoint is a good criminal for these. It's just that they just give you this alert and they leave you hanging on that alert. So you have no idea what to recover about. And then chats and help. And right now we have a lot of chat bots, a lot of chats in applications that are happening, but we are doing it wrong by the moment we say, hey, I want to chat with someone, and then you tell me, hey, you're on a queue for the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So what is the essence of a chat? I thought I need to chat right now. So just simple stuff like those, like we have to think about that. And then another thing I call it is pop-up party. So you have a pop-up over pop-up over pop-up, and there's a designer way of just simple way of, hey, yeah, so I want to enter another data. Just, a developer says, just add a pop-up, and then we have all these pop-ups happening all over the screen. So that's another thing that I always see. And also treating empty states. We don't treat empty states the way we want. So we even don't know how our empty states are. And as a designer, you need to design holistically to look like. A good example is, if I'm doing a search criteria, search UI, is I need to know if this search doesn't return results, how do I show that page? And how do I recover a user on that page? Because that's a high opportunity for us to be able to improve on the user experience of the UI. And those are just a short, description of a crappy UX for me. Correct.
Wow, those are very good examples, and you've spoken as well, given some advice on how to avoid them. So thank you for that. And just to chip in, so I'm actually of the same opinion as you regarding WhatsApp. I've always found them to have practices that border on dark patterns. So for example, by default, downloading all the photos from all the groups and then filling your storage, yeah, and then forcing you to update even if you don't want to. So yeah, I think that's something a lot of us agree on. Okay, so you've given a lot of examples, very good examples. Maybe we can speak a bit more on how we can measure the quality of UX. How can we determine, evaluate our designs to avoid crappy UX in them? Are there any tools or methods that we can use to make these assessments? And how do we avoid biases when making these assessments?
Right. Okay. That's a good question, and it's always paramount for designers to start evaluating UX interfaces. And there's a difference between the value of UX and measuring UX. Those two things get obscured in the middle. The value of UX takes time. It takes really a long time for you to notice that there's importance of UX. You can start right now. It will trickle down 5 years, 10 years from now. So if you're in a company and you're starting this and you're not seeing the results immediately, be happy. It will come up 3-4 years from now. Another way is, how do you measure UX to help yourself start getting into the space of now value of UX, return on investment of UX. And this slide, I use it as one of the criteria, and I came up with these at Zillow Group. So Zillow Group, I led a whole design for Zillow, and Zillow is a company that does real estate, transactions in US, Canada, and Europe. So I was in charge of the platform tools that now runs the whole of that. So I'm always focused on the back end of how things run. And one of the best criteria for experience outcome is just memorable. First of all, memorability, that's core. Like when you're building something, think about that. And then evidence-based. So you have to have like customer insights to make that decision. So as a designer, if I'm saying, okay, I'm redesigning the shopping cart experience for an application on our website, I need to be able to really go back to the data that I collected, that people told me, like, this is the best practices, this is how we add stuff on our cart and how we do stuff. So it's really evident. And then based on that, it has to be measurable itself. Like, you have to measure the success. And as designers, we need to be keeping receipts of this. And this is just an advice for you people. I've been in that field. I've designed and I never kept receipts. And end of the year, they ask me what I've done. And most of the time as designers, we are interviewed or done reviews by people who are not designers, and then you cannot even articulate what you did. Always keep your receipts. And then it is an end in itself. So think about it as jobs to be done. Like, how do you really make a user complete the task they are trying to do, rather than for them not to browse outside the experience to get that solution out. And then scoped, the scoping, I talk about it as just meaningful and actionable units of customer values, so something like, like add a product, those are just scoped, like how many things were added into the scope, because this one now helps you think a product holistically from just design, but also looking at scoped value and using that addition as a metric to see the value of how you improved your UI on it. So you have to get into a more data-centered approach of looking and measuring tasks that people are working on the UI itself. So those are just how you measure your UX. Okay.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much. So maybe you can mention something on how on biases when assessing a US, whether it's crappy or not.
Yeah, sometimes we have a lot of inherent bias in things that we do, and it's based on how we have designed it, and I call it siloed way. And that's just one of the examples I have had at SAP. It's a normal thing, normal stuff in every organization, and SAP also, I can't say we don't suffer from that. We have a lot of inherent bias, especially when you design something, and then you use subject matter expert to help you design it, and then you start setting up your usability test yourself. So in short is you're just validating your design decision based on your own bias of how you thought about it. You just don't want to change. I always call it UX maturity, because we get married to things that by nature, we get married to things we build. We have spent 3 months on them and everything, and we want affirmation for that, which is typical of human beings. Like, we just want to get, affirmation of what you're building, but we are forgetting that you're designing for the bigger company goal itself. And sometimes we ask leading questions during usability tests to validate what we think, rather than think, also observing how they do that. So sometimes what I always do is, if you're a designer on my team, you design that feature, another designer will run the usability test on that. And then another designer will do the note taking, so that we remove that inherent bias of the product that you're building itself. So always have someone, a partner design in the community that you can rush to and tell them to do for you a usability test. It really removes that bias on that. So if today I'm building an application for Kenyan market, I'm not the one going to do the test for that. I'll rather come to Raj and say, hey, help me do that stuff. So I'll be able to now figure out how the results and improve the application the way I'm building. So that removed all the inherent bias that I have on the product.
Okay, that's very good advice, and it shows the value of having well-developed teams with people with strengths in different areas, and that brings me to the question you mentioned earlier about teams at SAP, and maybe you talking more about that. So is there any unique way, or rather how a team set up in SAP to help ship good UX?
Yep. So I'll merge this question with another question that we had about UX roles, about UI UX terminologies that come in. And setting up team has been my passion for the last 3 companies and different institutions that I've been as consulting person. And one of the interesting for SAP is I came in with a team that had only like 3 designers who are mostly junior designers. Mostly they were UI designers, not like UX designers. First thing is, I've set it up for success, and I've done it like an inverse role of an empathizing manager. So empathy manager is those people who are below your subject. So I'm always below them, and then they make decisions. I have empowered them to make decisions on anything that they want to do. So right now we have, I'm managing around 7 designers and hiring 3 others to come in. So we'll have like around 10 or 12 designers for the incubation lab. But the 4 designers that I've set up, which are more like mid-level to senior level, is I looked at their strengths, first of all, like what are their strengths in it? And as ITCM, or the claims management, we are a broad spectrum of product that we build. And in that we have different domain areas that we do. So we have a team that really specializes in document extraction and data validation. And then we have another team that focuses on something called matching space. So when you get this data and comes in, how do you use the AI and MLS to start now looking at how this data match to each other in the field? And another one looks at now the conversational UI, which we call it more like a user onboarding. So conversational UI helps you like onboarding experience for the application. And another team does with the configurations and setting and rules, securities, and all that stuff. So it's more deep into the backend integration of how the application works. And then I have another team that really focuses entirely on the end-to-end experience, looking at how these domains fit into each other and how they integrate to just build a better experience on that. So those are just like physical work that someone is supposed to do in a UI. And then we have things that you bring onto the table. So bringing on the table is, I've split the team into more research, design thinking, and then UX architect, and then UX QA. So you see those UX architecture and UX QA, those are totally new fields that people don't understand much about it. But that's how I've set them up, because I want people to be able to do a lot of design thinking, a lot of idea generation. And that's why we have a lead designer that really traverses across the team to do that. And then we have another one who just focused on the usability studies and research part of it. And that also just goes across the board for the team. And then we have one that now measures, like looks at the end-to-end experience, and that's like a UX architect role. So the UX architect role is they are looking at how do these components fit into each other? How do we use reusable components and test them to do that? And then we have another one who is now doing like UX QA. So if you look at engineering QA, before you ship a product, the UX QA comes in and start looking at, how is the interactions? How are the buttons done? How is the color? How are those, like, that's the last gate for us to avoid shipping a crappy UX out to the world. So we have that person that guards that space itself. And then we have a UX writer on the team now who just makes sure that our copy is really up to standard and it really makes sense to what we're trying to do. So that's how the team is set up for success. And then we have a lot of, every day we have a check-in session. We have a check-in session in the morning at 9 a.m. and then we have a checkout session at 5 p.m. in the evening to just say, hey, what did you do during the day? Any challenges, any blockers? So I'm always there to just help the team navigate that. And if there is any blocker, I'm always there to help them unblock them and reach out to relevant departments that require feedback or we require feedback from. So I'm that go-to person who just pushes the nudge, and also having a lot of one-on-one with these teams to just help them skill up and improve on their design practices. So that's how the team is set up for our incubation lab.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much. So now we'll move on to the next question about UX, what UX recruiters or rather employers look for in new hires. I believe we do have a few more questions from the previous section, so we'll ask those if we get time at the end of the session. So regarding UX recruitment and applying for jobs, what advice would you give aspiring UXers, so fast aspiring UXers that are new with little to no experience, and second, probably junior UXers or experienced UXers that are looking to grow in the career?
That's a good question, and I've been doing this a lot of stuff, and I just went straight to those things. It's just ask questions, be inquisitive. Most of us as designers, we forget that part. Ask. One of the best advice I got from one of the mentor like 10 years ago is, as a designer, when you get into a room, be the loudest the first 3 minutes. Just be loud. Be known that you exist. Because most of these people will never ask a question to a designer. They'll only ask like, hey, what is the solution out of that? But they never ask strategic questions like, how does that number impact our experience? They never ask that. But the moment when you come in and set the boundaries, known that you exist, that's the best way to do it. Get into a room, the first 2 minutes, 3 minutes, make yourself known. And then just going from being a person who asks all the questions, you'll become the person who answers them. So just by asking those questions, you'll know how people answer them, how they do stuff. And as a UX designer, you'll literally know how the trade is run. And most people come to me asking me like, I want to be a mentor. That's a wrong question. Never be a mentor to someone. Always let that person come with specific need they want. And then I can help you grow. But just being a mentor is totally off. I can teach you how to paint, which is not interesting at all. And then I always tell people like focus less on chasing your passion and more on mastering whatever you're doing. So when you work hard at becoming good at something, you'll find yourself becoming more passionate about doing that thing and reaping the success of the hard work that you put in. So don't get tied up at chasing your passions, but these passions change. Today all the design software has changed. Right now we were very busy on Illustrator, and then okay, we're busy on Corel Draw. We moved into Adobe, PageMaker stuff. We moved from there. We went to Adobe XD. We were so happy about that. We went into Sketch. Everyone was happy. Right now, Figma is the thing, so every day things change. So the moment you start chasing about passion, you start looking at tools. You start focusing on tools and forgetting that, okay, what are you mastering on? Take something and master on. If it's user research, master on that. If it's usability stuff, go deep into that. Learn it, be the master of those things, and then the last thing is just network. Just know people. Meet as many people as you can, talk to them. Don't, like, the moment you meet a designer or someone, not even a designer, even a CEO, even a HR person, tell them who you are and what you can solve. Don't go there looking for a job. Look at a way how you can solve their problems. Some of them, they are not there because they receive a lot of this hire me approach. Always look at their website, go to them and tell them, hey, this thing sucks, I can help you do that. Let me tell you, down the week, during the week, that person will remember that advice and they'll come and ask for you for that. That's just one way of looking for clients. That's one way of looking for how you get into this industry itself. Like, be there to solve the problem. Another thing is put your knowledge at work. Don't care what you know, care about what you do and what you know. Just go from the person who asked the question and then just get deeper into things that the knowledge you have. And always also another thing I always learn from one of my friends is just say yes. If someone tells you yes, get it. Don't be worried about how you're going to learn about that. Some of these companies teach people on the job. Some of these clients are totally different clients. So what you learn in school, what you learn from UX Kitchen is totally different what you learn when you learn at HP or Microsoft, literally. So just say yes, get in, learn from that, do it. And then getting inside the company, make allies, just look at people who are doing well, be friends with them, and have the empathy to learn what they are trying to do. Don't get in with this I know it all attitude, because this tech world, people just frown on that, and then just have that empathy to learn, and then within 6 months, you'll be somewhere. So that's exactly what I tried doing. I don't know if I did it right. Yeah. Hello?
Tim, you're muted.
Hello, sorry. I'm
Yeah.
back. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So thank you for that. It's interesting you've mentioned about being the loudest in the room the first time you're meeting a team. I think a lot of designers view themselves as being introverted. So that's getting out of our comfort zones and doing what's required to succeed.
Yes, that thing need to stop. Like, we believe like designers are introverted. You have to put on headphones and stick on your corner and do your stuff. That era stopped. That era ended long time ago. Right now, you're a salesman. You're selling something to these people who have no idea. You have to come out and be the loudest person in the room. Just talk what you want to do. Like, we have to empower designers to start talking, but not being arrogant, but talking with knowledge, talking with empathy, and also the listening. And sometimes you have to learn the listening skill before you start the talking skill. You have to have a listening skill set in you. From there, you'll know what questions you're asking, and they have to be very strategic. And you have to know who you are. Are you a red person? Are you a blue person? Are you yellow, or are you green? Those are the more psychological things that we measure how people are. So the red people are always just tell me and go, like, give me line items, pop, 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 out. The blue person is, okay, I'll empathize with you. I want some deep details. Oh no, the blue person is just details. Like, give me all the details of stuff. The green person is, I want to empathize. I want to be included. I want to do that. So designers move from the green level, get into more red aspect of it, to just start pushing the needle as we move.
I see. Okay, that's good. So yourself as someone who probably has done a lot of hiring in the past and is doing hiring at the moment. What things do you look for in potential candidates? Say, for example, you have two candidates that are very well matched up. What would you look for in terms of what stands out for a particular one to be ahead?
Okay. Wow, that's interesting because I'm just in the face of doing a lot of recruiting right now, and we have those scenarios that are happening. It's just tough. First impression, show me that you have passion to do something. Give me that passion. Answer, show me at least you went through the job description to understand, first of all. Like sometimes we talk to people and they have no idea what they're even being hired for. Okay. Another thing, have your portfolio ready. Let it be updated. Have at least one or two projects that you go deep into your knowledge area and you can articulate some of the design decisions that you do. And then have maybe two high-level one, and then have just an elevator pitch that you can get in and just sell to anyone if they ask you, like, who are you? That's one of the quickest question to know if someone is passionate is ask them who they are and then why they're coming. They'll tell you straight up. I'll know from that, like for the 1 hour, either I'll pay attention or I'll not pay attention for the next 45 minutes of what you're going to talk about. So the first 5 minutes makes a big impression. And also always as a candidate, know that this is a conversation, is not a drill exercise. Okay. And okay, most recruiters have a different approach, but I always approach it like you as a candidate, you can shape a conversation. You have the power to shape the conversation by bringing in empathy. As a designers, we have empathy. We're trained to have empathy. So you need to show that by acknowledging that the person talking to you from the other end is also a human being. Ask them about the day, ask them about stuff. Like, make it more, like, feel like you can work with this person the next time you're hired. I'm not just going to hire someone that is only like sets out these bullet points, A, B, C, D, and then that's it. I'm not going to hire that person. That's a fact. So based on that, those are just some soft skills that you need to look at, and those things are really gathered from mentorship, from how you look at people do stuff. And if you really need help on that end, reach out to me. I'll help you out, to do that stuff. And then also I look at holistic approach, like how do you look at the product itself from holistic point of view, not just at the siloed or granular level itself. So if I'm brought in and say, hey, I want to redesign the banner or the homepage, ask yourself, how does that homepage really translate into the product page, social media presence, accounts, a checkout flow that you have, corporate website that it is, like all that consistency. Have a thorough understanding of how it impacts every part of the product itself. And when you come with that thing on the table, anyone will respect you about that. And then technical part. The technical part is look the softwares you use, like what are they? Softwares are just tools, but some of these companies are so focused on this thing, which is the reality right now. And then the problem solving. Some of this time is, we always have two approaches for questions that we do. We have the behavioral questions, and then we have the technical solving, problem solving questions. The behavioral is just the situation question, like, okay, what if you're in this situation? Because it helps me as a recruiter. I'll give you a very hard task of something that I'm going through right now. And then I'll want to see how you use your skill to solve that problem, and then I'll be able to gauge, like I have a benchmark to know how you think through problem solving because I'm going through the same stuff. So those things always happen. And then another thing heavy is collaboration part, the process itself. What's your process, how you do stuff? So a lot of things is collaboration, and humans, people, we need to talk to each other, but I'm not going to hire someone who really is a snob. That's another thing. Creativity is core, it's relative what creativity matters, but I always just put it there. So creativity, sometimes a good e-commerce site has good creativity, and then SaaS application, there's not much freedom of creativity. So you need to know that. And then the design knowledge and scope that you're looking at based on the level that we are bringing you on board. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. And regarding what you've mentioned about, say, for example, technical skills. So I think at times as designers, we're in a bit of a difficult position because we are told that, you know, you should focus on a particular area. So focus either on UX, focus on UI. But, you know, when you go out there and look for jobs to apply, you find that they're asking for UX, UI, and sometimes even front-end development skills. So what advice would you give to designers in terms of navigating through such scenarios?
Yeah, so, and this is a problem, like, you know, it's really different from Kenya and US. You know, US, we have come out strongly, very strongly, to have job description that really articulate what you're looking for, and not looking for a generalist. Like, really, if you're going to hire me, and because I know front end, I know back end, I know UI, I know UX, I'm a unicorn. You better pay me good money for that, for sure. If you're not going to pay me that, please don't even put it on your job description for that. So
Amen.
the first thing is if you see such job description, always ask for the pay bracket. How much are they paying? Is it worth your time even getting in or not? Because these people don't even know. They just put UX UI on the job description and they move on. They have no idea. And then they gave you a web developer to interview you. And you're just like, okay, what is this? And that one is, they're setting you up for failure, one thing. You know, they're setting you up for failure because they even don't know what to measure as UX. And another thing, you'll never have a voice on the table. And you'll be frustrated by UX that you're trying to do. So it's good to be hybrid, but also these hybrid things that really work together. You know, like UI, UX really work well. Information architecture moves in well. You know, you can be heavy on copy also, that helps a lot. You know, but when you land a level of front end, no, just tell them, please just hire front end to do that stuff, you know, to do that thing. And if they refuse to do that, then tell them, what if I learn on the job to do that? Okay, I'm not good for that. I don't want to be measured by the front end that I'm going to do. I want to be measured by the UX, but give me 6 months, I will be able to up my skill. And a good employer will be like, okay, that's good. So you get in with confidence of what you're working. But if you go and lie on the resume that you do those things and you don't do them, you'll be fired in 3 months. Yeah. Correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
Team, did you drop out?
I think Tim dropped out. Yeah.
Sorry, yes, just having connection issues, but I'm back now. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
we can.
Can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Yes. Okay. So thank you for that. I think we've exhausted the earlier questions we had on that topic. So now I'll just move on to some more general questions. Probably
All right.
one, considering the time.
I think I can just stop sharing.
So I think a bit on the line of what did you consider? What did you consider? The typical career growth for a UX designer, or rather, typical career trajectory?
I think I'm not hearing you well.
UI design, and how can we?
Hey,
Hey,
team,
Tim.
you're
Sorry,
breaking
can you hear
off.
me? Sorry.
You're breaking.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can
a
you
bit
hear me now?
choppy. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yes. Yeah, I've turned off my video. Hopefully that helps. Sorry. So
Okay.
I was asking about career growth in UX. What would you consider to be a typical career trajectory for UX or UI designer, and how can we set ourselves up for growth in that path?
Right. Okay. That's a good question. And it's always been a dilemma for all the mid-junior designers and even senior designers, where they want to go. Like, if you hit that title for the senior designer, then what next? Okay, there are two approaches for design itself, and three to some extent. There are those designers who are hands-on, and we call them principals. So most of these designers is they really just want to build stuff. They don't want to have like people management skill at all. They just want to build stuff, and it's always most like UX architects. So they move into that space and they just want to do that. Like Wabolski, the guy for the Google, looking at Tim Cook, that those are the type of people that really just still build stuff. People like people who study design, like Julie Zhu, okay, Julie Zhu is totally different from Facebook, but people like Tim Cook for Apple, those are designers, really. Like they build stuff, they want to build stuff. He still designs up to now, like he just loves designing stuff. So you can have that trajectory, and those people, we call them dreamers, and they just deep into solving things, and they work well with development. So sometimes such people transition into more dev, CTO level, like in companies, they end up being even chief product officers who can really understand a lot of the product development and also the technology component of it. And then there are some designers who are now focused into now, and these are mostly generalist designers who move into now people management side of stuff. And they look at best practices and processes of how they improve the design flow. And someone like Julie Zhu from Facebook really articulates that direction very well. Like she has picked up that and become like her goal. People like Newman from Usability Geeks, he has done that also. Like they have really positioned themselves from that direction itself that does that. So it all depends on what your company is and what you want in life. Most of the time, if you really want to get into building a company, sometimes people get into more UX architect role and they start building things from scratch and brainstorming and doing stuff. But the moment you move into people management, you start missing out on the trends of UX and how things are done, and you become at a higher level person to think, which now becomes more like a business person to do that stuff. So that's the challenge of it. So there's that trajectory, but the best trajectory is always looking at the trends on the market and where you're heading to and where the industry is moving to. Right now, artificial intelligence, machine learning, that's the best thing. Like we are short skilled for designers or researchers who can measure the usability test for AI. We don't have that. Even in US right now, we're missing that for sure. Like I'm hiring right now, I can't get any person who understands how to measure the AI. Like engineering world has moved so fast ahead before us, and we're trying to catch up as designers. So most of the designers will get, they're just choppy designers who just bring in the old traditional way of research, but they're not looking at the new trends and new things are how they're trying to do. Like how do we measure even the conversational UIs? We don't have those stuff. For IoT, we don't have those stuff that is happening. So it's a challenge for us. And for me, I feel like it's good for us as the community. We have to really like just span out and change the world, how we think about design.
Okay, thank
Right.
you. So I think we've run out of time. So from the questions that have come in recently, maybe will you allow us to ask maybe just one?
Okay, sure. I have like enough time to ask that. Yeah, answer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think one I'd pick is how do you pitch a design perspective to your organization with the knowledge that they are constrained in terms of budget and management, and the management has a strong rigidity to new ideas. So again, how
that's
do
a
you
good question.
pitch a design perspective to your organization with it?
Yeah, I'll give you an example that has worked for me. Is always just user feedback. Most of these companies think they know their users. They really don't know their users. Go for users. Come with the data, understand the business. As a designer, get into business. That's what I can say. Get into business, know the numbers, know where they're moving to, be on that table to understand more strategic goals they want to set. And from there, match it with your user expectation of the product that you're trying to do. The moment you'll touch on numbers, the moment you'll touch on their empathy, that's the way to go for. always look at the numbers and use your design knowledge and acumen to really map onto that. And you'll get a winning, because most designers get into the meeting and they just show UIs and move on. No, get the numbers, show them on screen. At least have 4 screens. One screen is your overview of what you're solving, the hypothesis, the numbers that you can move, what can you move the needle with that design based on your assumptions and design or usability that you've done, and then show them the design. From there, they'll buy in, let me tell you. Use that. Yeah.
That's good.
Sir, I have a question.
Right.
According to the principles of Henry Fayol, are we supposed to want them in the organization?
According to the principles of what?
Principles of the Fayol and Taylor principles. The principles, the scientific principles.
Right. So are you talking about the heuristic principles?
Yes.
Type
Yeah.
the question in the chat.
Yeah, type the
Can
question
you
in the chat.
explain about the principles which can be run in an organization for success?
Yeah, heuristic principles are core principles that any designer need to follow, and it's just like a Bible for you. There are 3 versions of different heuristic principles. You have to tailor it with your company and your goal for the company. You have to look at that. So don't just come with something from the online and then slap it on your company. You'll get a rejection, but look at things that work for your company. So yeah, simple things like, delight, things like affordances, things like information finding, which is information architect. Those are the basic principles, but not all principles. Just get things that make your work easy, make your company profitable, and then you'll get a buy-in from the stakeholders. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Hey, Jack, hopefully I answered your question right.
They're muted. I've just
Okay.
muted everyone and removed the access for anyone to unmute themselves in case we have such a situation again. So Jack, please just type us. Let us know if Reagan answered your question. Also, team, maybe I think that's it for the questions. Or okay, let's do it like this, right? So Reagan, if there's anything you feel that we didn't ask but we need to know, coming from a place of your what's it called, your experience and your knowledge and leadership, if you feel there's something you need to address for us to be empowered that we didn't necessarily ask, address it right now.
Yeah, one thing is as designers, we need to think ahead of what we're trying to do. We need to have allies in the companies. Don't get in and just feel like you're going to change things the first 1 month. Have allies, work with the marketing team, work with the CEOs, CFOs, anyone, even the front office person, work with them. Do something with them. They'll come to respect you. They'll come to respect your ideas. And that's how it is. Most designers, we come in with these backpack headphones, and flash our iPhones and put them on the desk and move on, and like no one understands us. But no, that's not. We past that situation. We are past situation where we are blaming the system for not allowing designers to grow. We are past the system where we blame our universities for not preparing us into this career. We are past a situation where we feel like, hey, we are not ready to get it. Like UX is picking up. No, UX has been picking up since you are born. It's just you who has not picked up. So like change that mindset. Know that you can change, you can do, you can grow. We have faced a lot of challenges as designers, not only coming into US as a new citizen or new person with no whatsoever experience, and moving into an industry where is, like we have a lot of diversity and inclusion problems. That's also another thing that has happened, but those are just, for us, there are more learning things that gives us more impetus to grow and know the value that we are bringing to the table. So move away from that pity pat match and just do the right thing. Build things, have a lot of discipline in what you build, because sometimes we're given tasks and we just like take time to do it. Just like we have a blame game to just delay something. The world is not ready for that. Like, we just have to have that discipline of hard work, discipline of changing stuff. Even if changes are not happening right now, we have to keep on doing it. And give back. What you have learned, give back to the community, share with that, with them, mentor young people, grow with them, and just, we'll be at the right place for sure.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. So that was really inspirational. This is one of those, I finally have enough confidence to like pull my mask just a little lower. Okay, great. So I have my mask on because of my acne situation, for those who joined late. Anyway, so before I hand over to Raj, I just wanted to be like super, super, super grateful, because I remember telling you, oh, you don't even need to prepare slides. Just talk to guys. I'll give you the questions, and you've gone out of your way to prepare really good slides. You have really good information. It's also one of those sessions where I've been able to follow through like from start to finish. So you're very interesting. You're very also like hands-on and resourceful. Yes, so it's very easy to stay to listen to you, and thank you very much for making it easy for us. So Raj, I think you take over so that I don't do the ending part for you. I got scared by that person who was playing music, then they disoriented me a bit. Anyway, Raj, go on. Oh, okay, yeah, let me unmute you.
Thanks, Jerry. And yeah, just like what you said, I think this was one of the few sessions when I've actually been super engaged the entire time, just trying to listen to everything. And like, I think it's been a while since I made so many notes in my notebook, just because I was like, oh, I need to remember this. So thank you so much, Reagan. That was really insightful. And I think there've also been a really great comments on the chat from people saying that it's been really helpful. They've learned so much. So actually, some of the highlights for me were, the WhatsApp message, the delete messages caused me so much frustration. And it's so nice to know that it's like someone else is just, framing it as bad UX, which is what it is. And even they're removing inherent bias among designers. That was something I've never even thought about. So I think, Jerry, me and you are going to have to do testing on each other's designs from now on. Yeah, and just like all the great advice about candidates in UX hiring. So yeah, again, thank you so much. I think what's next is coming up is just announcements and networking, but I don't want to take any more of your time because you've already stayed 15 minutes more than extra. So please don't feel obliged to stay any longer if you need to go. But what I'm going to do now actually is just pass it over to Nabila Alibai, because she's got some really great offers for you guys in the UX community, which she'll talk about just now. So Njeri, maybe you can just unmute her as well.
Sure, on it. Great, unmuted. Okay. Yes.
Fantastic. Hey guys, should I just launch into it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited to be with you again. Some of you might know me as one of the coaches from the UX challenge that we did for COVID, which was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, just congratulations on that. I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about an offer that I have for a course called Life Design. And basically what it is it's a one-on-one course that is targeted at people, young professionals that are wondering whether they're doing the right thing and that they're in the right place and whether they're being effective. So it's really for anyone who's like at the entry level or also thinking about a career transition or also feeling kind of burnt out. And what's exciting about it is that it actually uses design principles for kind of recreating your life, refocusing it, refueling. And it comes from my work. I think some of you are familiar with the work. It's very focused, basically over a 20-year period, working on change making that's around health, conflict resolution, community development. And then having this 10 years ago, having this aha moment that design is so important in creating new lives, new opportunities, new ideas, and how important it is for hope, that people have imagination as a tool. Like, how do you possibly have a new, better future if you cannot imagine a better new future? So a lot of people in the design field are already sold, and I just love the way that Reagan has articulated so much of that, like when it comes to strategy and delight, and really, you know, I went through this experience of now integrating aesthetics into a lot of the community work that I was doing, and many of you will see that like in my TED talk and from my website. But this is an offer that is for one-on-one coaching, tutoring. It's more of an experience than anything else. And it's really, okay, let's look at ourselves as individuals, and like, how do we integrate some of these design and leadership and strategy tools to defining our own life. So I think, I mean, at this point in time, as we're looking at a COVID world, a lot of us are going through that kind of personal restructuring. And I think the imagination is absolutely the most important thing now, because we're having to adapt to a new world. And I think that's what that whole UX challenge was about. It's like, okay, adaptation. And so it's just, yeah, I just wanted to offer this coaching opportunity to anyone who's interested from the UX Kitchen. There's a special offer. The course usually goes for about $360. For the UX Kitchen members, I'm going to offer it for 13,100 shillings. And so that's $130 basically. So like a good, yeah, and basically I have about 10 slots per month that, you know, for the next couple of months are available for UX Kitchen members. So take advantage of it. I'll be posting something on the Slack channel to help you guys sign up, and so that you can find out more about what that means. And yeah, and that's really it. I mean, I think that you know, you will find some information there about exactly what you'll come out of it with. But basically, it's a bunch of visioning tools. It's really being able to like live your values, coming out of it with a plan for the next 3 months to help you step up in the right direction. And then also, of course, you know, aesthetics, beauty, design also has a lot to do with communication. So it's about making you a more persuasive communicator. So I'll leave it at that. If there are any questions, happy to answer them. And if not, then please sign up.
Okay. So Raj, go on.
Yeah, so I've just, I think some people are asking for the Slack invite. Thanks for that, Njiri. So I've just posted the postcard about Nabila's course on this chat, along with the link to the type form. But as she said, she's also going to post it on Slack. And yeah, since we've run over time, we're actually not going to do the networking here today. But what I'd ask is, we do have a networking channel on Slack. So if we can all just, you know, come onto Slack later and like just post our LinkedIns. The format that we usually go with is like, tell us who you are, what you do, where you came from, and what you're good at. And then also, you know, you can always write about what you're looking for, and if you're looking for collaboration opportunities or projects, or, you know, just people to chat with about certain things. Yeah, I'm wondering if I'm missing anything. But if Njiri, am I missing any points?
I'm also like you. I'm like, am I missing anything? But I don't think so.
Yeah. All right. So I think what I'll just ask for everyone to do now is just to like turn on their videos, and let's just say bye to each other, and then see you on Slack. And thanks again, Reagan. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate, talking to you, and let's keep on this conversation. And if you need any help, let me know. Yeah, I'll be available
Definitely.
to help you. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Cool.
All right. See you, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you for making time. Bye. Bye. Okay, I guess we are done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so post your LinkedIn on the networking channel on Slack. Right, cool. So cheers. Bye everyone. I'm ending the call.